Hello, it's Toaster Party, and today I'm going to be talking about what my picks are for the 5 strongest cards introduced to Pauper in 2022. And trust me, there were a lot. Whether those be downshifts or just new cards, the format changed up quite a bit this year. So, let's move into the list, starting with number 5, Energy Refractor. For 2 generic mana, you get an artifact that says when it ETBs, you draw a card. You can also pay 2 generic mana into it to add 1 mana of any color. So basically what this card is it's a functional replacement for Prophetic Prism, which was put onto the ban list recently. And in some ways it's worse, as you have to pay 2 generic mana to get that 1 mana instead of just 1 to be 1-to-1 color filtering. But on the other hand, it also can be slightly better in some decks like Tron, because you can use it more than once during the turn, because it doesn't require to tap. So, overall very powerful card, as it's a replacement for a very powerful card. Now let's move on to number 4, Tolarian Terror, Pauper's own Murktide region equivalent. So, this card gets to cost 1 less for each instant and sorcery in your graveyard, and considering this is Pauper, and there's a lot of really powerful instants and sorceries you can be playing to fill up your yard, this comes down really quickly and hits very hard. Considering it's a 5/5 with Ward 2, it's also pretty hard to remove for your opponent. So, if they can't remove it, you're probably going to be able to win just by beating them down. And if you're able to draw a second one after they remove the first one, they're going to take a massive tempo loss trying to get rid of the second one. So, overall, very powerful card. Moving on now to number 3, we have Experimental Synthesizer. So for a lot of this year, Affinity was either one of the or the best decks, and one of the major reasons for that was Experimental Synthesizer. For 1 red mana, you get an artifact that when it enters the battlefield, you exile the top part of your library, and until the end of the turn, you may play that card. It also works if it leaves the battlefield, and it can also sacrifice itself for 2 generic and a red to get a 2/2 white samurai creature token with vigilance. So, the way this card was mostly used is in conjunction with the really powerful sack draw effects, such as Deadly Dispute. So it essentially turned this 1 red mana card into a draw 2. Even though it's a you use it or you lose it, it's overall a very powerful card because Affinity had a ton of different ways that they could just be sacking this card, and it just adds to their Affinity count even if they weren't sacking it. So, that's why in the world I put this card at number 3. But let's move on now to a different red 1-drop with Monastery Swiftspear, the 1 downshift of this year. So this is one of the strongest red aggressive creatures ever printed, and has been seeing tons of modern play ever since it first came out in Cons block. It has haste, prowess, and is a 1/2, so a little bit above curve, and it was downshifted to common for the first time ever in Double Masters 2022. And pretty much ever since this card finally got the downshift, it's made burn and prowess strategies tier 1 in the Pauper metagame ever since. So let's move on to the final one, and it's not just 1 card, it's a ton of cards, and that is the initiative cards. These creatures, when they enter the battlefield, give you the initiative. The initiative can be best described as very broken monarch, because whenever you gain the initiative, you enter the dungeon, and specifically, you enter the Undercity, which is an incredibly powerful dungeon that has a lot of really powerful effects that are not normally seen in Pauper. Such as, when you initially get it, you get to search your library for a basic land, but the more important part is the second one you pretty much always pick, which is put 2 1/1 counters on target creature. Considering in this format they would be turboing this out on turn 1 or 2, they would be getting a really powerful creature onto the board, and then making it even stronger by putting 2 1/1 counters on it. From there, they just let the initiative card keep rolling, doing things like dealing 5 points of damage, drawing cards, and putting things onto the battlefield. So, this mechanic was incredibly busted. So much so that 4 of the 7 initiative cards printed into Pauper have been banned at this point. And there's still at least 1 or 2 that are pretty playable. Also, the initiative mechanic by itself is so strong that the legacy cards that they have access to with initiative are currently seeing play and is a tier 1 strategy. Well, Thank you all for watching. I hope you leave a like, comment, and subscribe, and I hope you all have an excellent day.